do radio with us, that kind of thing. But this is where we do all the production.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah. So when he was at that meeting, Richard flew down from Virginia.
Right.
And met with some of the local pastors and whatnot. And then I drove down from here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had a meeting the other day, and there wasn't very many that showed up.
Really?
Yeah, it was really limited, so.
Like local people?
Yep, we only had a handful, maybe 7 or 8.
Do you feel like people are kind of are losing interest, or they're not being educated more about what's going on? Because this hasn't gone away.
No, I think because it's taken so long that they're getting burnt out, really, because they're not seeing anything happening. I know, just my perspective on it is when it gets in the news or something, it riles people up.
Right.
But give it about a month later, and then, it starts to die down.
Right.
So we've had good turnouts at some of the board meetings, but not all of them.
Well, we're not done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Now, you've been teaching 24 years?
Yes,
right?
I'll be 20. Yeah, I have 25 in January.
Wow, you should get a big award for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, is it the same school you've been for 25 years?
No, I think this one will be 18 coming up.
Okay, so 18 in that school, but 25 total.
Yeah, 25
okay.
total.
So, and this happened last September. This whole thing started, right?
That is correct.
Okay. It sounds official. That is correct.
That is correct.
Okay, so kind of tell me kind of in a story mode, like let's start out, say, I've been teaching more than 20, we don't want to date it, so more than 20, you said almost 25?
Almost 25.
I've been teaching for almost 25 years, and you've probably never had anything like this happen, right?
Never.
Okay. So you maybe kind of start with that, and then take us to that day. Here I am going to, did the girl actually go into the boys' bathroom?
Well, she went into the locker room, but which day are we talking? Are we talking when it first began?
Right.
Because there was about a 2-week difference on things. We had the principal come in and meet with me first.
Before she went into the locker room?
Yes, it was about a 2-week break, and then he came into the office. He informed me about the student, and then I told him I couldn't do it, that we needed to call district. We ended up contacting district. He didn't know who to reach at the district office, and he says, I'll get back to you. About 2 weeks later.
Okay, so all right, so let's back up then. So start it from there.
Okay. You want me to start from him coming down to the PE locker room, my office?
So wait, hold on. So 2 weeks later is when she appeared in the locker room.
Yes, she was in the class, and we do classroom procedures. So before anybody can do any kind of physical activity, we give them these procedures to write out. There's about 19 of them, and we have them do it 3 times each to make sure they're crystal clear on what we expect from the student. The student actually never got done, but they had already said that she's going in. So that day, it was 2 weeks after he had talked to me, we were in the gym, and there was supposed to be coverage for me. And I did not go into the locker room. She went into the locker room. The boys came running out, and then
they're like, Coach, we have a problem. That
yes,
Coach, I guess.
Yeah, well, they didn't even come to me. I was standing next to my colleague. It was actually her class. I just supervised the boys' locker room, but since I wasn't doing it, they needed coverage on that. So there was nobody in there when she went in there. When the boys came running out, my colleague said, "There's nothing I can do." And then right after that, the principal walked in, took them all in.
Okay, so let's start with that. Let's start with the scene where she goes into the locker room and the boys are running out.
Okay, so don't cover the beginning.
Well,
with
we're gonna
okay.
and then we're gonna back up. That well, 2 weeks previous to that, the principal had already blah, 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 you know?
Sounds,
So kind of, um, I've been teaching almost 25 years, and I thought it was just another day. I was going to, PE class, whatever you're going to do, and all of a sudden these boys come running out and kind of paint the scene for us that way.
okay, all right. Just trying to put it because it wasn't really my class. So
Was it your class?
no, it was Coach Christensen's class.
Okay.
So it was actually her class. Originally, I would go in and supervise the locker room, but since this student was going to be allowed into the locker room, I refused to do it. So we were waiting on the principal to come in, but she didn't wait on us. On the principal, she went directly in. So it was a total different day for me when it came to that, because I wasn't going in there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So maybe we should back up then and start at when the principal approached you.
Yes.
Right. But I kind of just start out, I've been teaching 25 years, and
Yeah.
the principal approached me, blah, 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 kind of set the scene for us that way.
Okay. And how long should I go to? Just run it?
Tell me the story.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. What, do you want me to introduce myself or
No?
no?
I want you to introduce yourself. Say,
Okay.
I've been teaching, or
Okay.
however you want to start it.
Okay.
Start talking to me that way. Okay.
Okay. After almost 25 years of teaching, my principal came into my office and he had something that he wanted to talk to me about. And he goes, "Hey, Coach, we have a situation where a girl identifying as a boy is going to have full access to the boys' locker room." And, I told him, we can't do that. And I said, would she have full access to the bathrooms and the showers? And he said, yes, she would have totally full access to everything. So I said, I could not do it. And he goes, well, I don't want you to lose your job over this. He goes, I wish you would think about it. And he goes, why don't you think about it, and then we can talk later. Well, I waited for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it started to bother me, and I went and got my principal, and I said, we need to contact the district office because I can't do this. Upon calling the district office, my principal did not even know who to contact. He had contacted, could not get a hold of the person that was in charge of this policy or what to do, and he told me to go back to class on this. Okay. In the meanwhile, this student, probably about 2 weeks later, ended up coming into the gym. We were supposed to be waiting on our principal or somebody to chaperone the students into the locker room, but there was not a principal or anyone there. So the student ended up walking into the locker room where the boys were starting to change, and the boys came funneling out of the locker room. They were yelling, and they were saying, and one in particular.
Wait, let me stop you for a second. Make sure you identify the student as she. It's
Okay, you want me to do that? Okay.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
we see the picture
Okay.
that she is in the locker room and all the boys come running out, then we can
Okay.
get a better visualization.
Okay, where do you want me to go back? On that day?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, on that day, this student, a female, entered the boys' locker room when they just started to change. There was nobody in there to supervise them, and the boys that were in there that were getting changed came running out. One in particular came running up to my colleague, Stephanie Christensen, the other PE coach, and said, Coach, we have a problem. There is a girl in the guys' locker room. And Coach Christensen just said, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. After saying that, our principal walked in, took this female student, and the rest of the boys went into the locker room, and that's how it began.
Okay. So we have the boys running out, freaking out, going, there's a girl in the locker room, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then what happened after that?
After that, I was contacted by the district lawyer, Thomas Neesham. We had set up a meeting where he came in, and when he first came in, he's going, oh, what is the problem? And I said, you cannot have a female changing in the boys' locker room. And he goes, you're the only one that has a problem with this. As we continued to go back and forth on why she should not be in the boys' locker room, I was later asked, well, would you be willing to accept a transfer? I said, why would I accept a transfer if the policy is the same district-wide? I was then told that, you could lose your job and your teaching certificate, and then later asked, are you willing to lose your job over this? I said, no, but I'm not going to quit on these kids, and these parents need to be informed. Mr. Neesham came back and said, the only student that has any rights is this female, and the parents would not be contacted. I then said, you guys are going to get sued. And he informed me that they are the largest employer in Pasco County. If they get sued, it's no big deal. And that's where it ended.
So you were threatened then for your job for not wanting to do this, and he said you were the only one that had a problem with it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then were you given anything in writing threatening you?
I personally was not given anything in writing. When I had the meeting with Mr. Neesham, I asked if I could audio tape the conversation, and I was told we could not. So it was a short time later that the Liberty Counsel had ended up uncovering some of the emails talking about putting me out, and that they would not tolerate my behavior, and they wanted to send a clear example.
Okay. Now, how did you feel as far as your personal rights? How they had been violated, perhaps, as a teacher, as a person? Talk to me about that.
Well, I thought my rights were getting trampled on, but I was also looking at the rights of the students and the parents that weren't even getting the information concerning their kids. None of the boys in that locker room knew this was coming. There was no talk, nothing sent home, so it was all a surprise. So when them boys came running out, there was a general concern that day.
What was the attitude of the boys when they came running out? Were they afraid, or were they? Tell me about what they were like.
You know what? They were in shock. They knew something was wrong. They came running out, and the reason why they were coming running out is because it wasn't right. They wanted to fix the situation. They knew that a female was in the guys' locker room, and they needed assistance.
Okay. And since then, what has happened? Has the girl come back into the locker room?
The student is no longer with us. She has moved on to the high school, so it's been quiet up to this point. But if another student comes back in, this unwritten policy is still in play, and I believe that they would be put in the locker room again without informing the parents or students.
Okay, so let's refer to them as, let's say, informal policies that have, let's see, how do I want to say it? Unauthorized policies.
Unwritten?
Without school board approval. I think that's how I want to say it. Instead of unwritten policies.
Okay.
Illegitimate?
Let's see.
There's really no information. That sheet that you had up on your computer, us teachers haven't even received that yet.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, let's say policies or policies that were enacted without school board approval.
Okay.
Let's talk to them about that. So regarding that, have you seen additional of these unwritten these policies?
All right, wait a minute. Go back. What was that a policy you wanted me to say? All right.
These unauthorized policies without
unauthorized.
approval or something like that.
Okay.
What additional ones have you seen happening in the school since this has happened?
As in, what additional?
Have you been like
I don't leave
given a mandate to address preferred pronouns, anything like that?
I haven't been.
Haven't been?
No. I stay in the gym all day. Nobody bothers me. This stuff. The only problem I've ever had was really this one.
So they don't have like teacher meetings where they say, okay, now we got to do this or whatever.
Not at our school.
Okay.
Not at our school. I think it's coming. It could be in play, or they may have taken the teachers like they did with me and have an individual meeting, but it has not, I do not know of any. Okay, so that's, I don't know.
Okay. What was I gonna ask you? Oh, so this occurred, and obviously the boys that came running out freaked out, didn't know about it. Were parents given any kind of heads up that this was going to be the new standard in the school?
Parents were never told anything. When I was in the meeting with Mr. Neesham, I had mentioned this, and he said if a parent has a problem with it after the fact, then they can come and they can work something out. But nothing prior to the female student going into the male locker room was discussed with any parent or student.
So they weren't given an opportunity to opt out or to approve this?
No, and up to this day, nothing has changed.
Okay, all right. Now, how do you feel, you were referring earlier that you felt like your rights and the students' rights were violated. How do you, as a teacher in the school for all these years, how do you see that the community can come around and support you and parents? What needs to happen in your eyes from a teacher's point of view?
Well, I don't believe the parents actually know what's going on. There's been little drips here and there of information getting out to them, but they don't know all the facts. And if they did, I believe that that would take care of the situation. So what's being said, that things never happened, that my job never got threatened, that the boys did not come running out when the female student entered the locker room. This is being said, and either it's misinformation or it's deliberately being misled that these things never took place. But once the parents find out, I believe that that'll really help put pressure on the people that need to make these decisions.
Okay. Why do you think, are you getting any kind of support from the local churches? Is there been any uprising, any discussion, any concern from the churches in your area?
Yes, our churches have been attending school board meetings and trying to get their voices heard. And at some of these meetings, they've been shut down, and they get to speak, but there's really not much feedback. And when they get to speak, they're often pushed back to the end of the meeting. So, you know, if we're looking at a 2.5 hour meeting, they might be the first ones there. And usually when you sign in on that sheet, you're the first one to speak. They have been pushing the churches and concerned citizens back and putting them on the back burner.
Okay, so taking on that thought, and you've attended many of these meetings, how do you see what do you?
I've only been to one.
You've only been to one? Okay.
Yes.
How would you describe the attitude of the school district in this kind of situation?
Well, I think everything's been close-lipped. I think that they've already made the decision. The school board is who I'm speaking of. They've made their decision, and they really don't want to hear no more of this. I would say that they're pretty closed, and they're happy with their decision.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So, and you don't supervise any clubs or anything, do you?
No.
Where you see this? This is
No.
just in your. Okay. Is there something else in the story that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about?
No, nothing that I can really think of. I only got the only thing I really have is what happened that day, what happened in the meetings. You know, we had the meeting, and the quotes were said by Mr. Neesham. We had the day that the student went in and the kids came running out. We've had the school board meeting that I attended that not much has been done, but you know, we're over a year now, and they've heard the complaints, but they yet to make a decision or change the decision, and not sure if it's going to happen.
Now, let's address these these policies that have been um, enacted without school board approval. Let's talk about those. What do you see, besides what you've encountered already, what is your fear for where the school district is going in this way?
Well, right now, the policies that were passed without board approval have mandated that we could have co-ed locker rooms, and puts all the students at risk, puts all the teachers at risk, and the parents, they don't even know this stuff's going on. So, it's a bad policy all the way around.
That's great. Now, I could give you the microphone and you get up there and you talk in front of the entire school board, the community, the churches, what would you say?
Well, my main objective is talking to our superintendent, Kurt Browning, because the board never voted on this. And it got passed through somebody, and our superintendent is the likely person that it came through. And I would say, as being a superintendent, you were hired to look after these kids. You have served the parents, and you were voted in by a lot of these people that have been, in dispute about this flawed policy. And I would say that I would take a look at that policy and change it where it benefits every student. Every parent should know, and protect your teachers.
Okay, good. What would you say to the Christians in your community?
I would say that being a Christian, that we have opportunities and to show our belief, our love for Christ, and it's really time to stand up and do something about a policy that we can be part of to make a change.
What would you say to the Christians in the community regarding protecting these students and protecting the rights of teachers?
I would say that for every Christian that's out there, that if you have...
Just start that over without saying I would say, just say for every...
Okay. For every Christian out there, you have an obligation to love others, to look after others, to protect others when we have a chance to do that. And we have a chance to protect our kids, but it's going to take some standing up to do. And you're going to have to get out there and let your voice be heard.
Say that again, just like you did.
All right.
That was good.
All right. Hang on. Where do you want me to begin?
You're speaking to the Christians.
Okay.
And protecting the teachers and the students.
Okay.
You're challenging them.
Okay. Well, can I start off by saying I challenge?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I charge every believer to stand up. We have a duty, and we are to show love to each and every person. And we can show love by standing up and protecting the students, keeping their parents informed, protecting teachers. That, I lost it on that.
Okay. Try again.
All right. Let me see. See, we should have stopped at the first one. All right. How do you want me to put that last part?
I just want you to speak. This is your chance to speak to the Christians in the community regarding protecting the rights of teachers and students.
Okay.
This is coming from your heart as a teacher. You care about these kids. Obviously, you've been there for 25 years.
Yeah.
So this is your platform.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to I got to get rid of the I. All right. I challenge every Christian to stand up. We have a duty as believers to look after the kids because they're the next generation. And if we don't look out for their rights, who will? And with the opportunities that we have, we got to make the most of them. And that's getting out there and letting your voice be heard.
Very good. Let's see. Is there anything I haven't touched on?
My colleague, she's the one that really attacked the policy because there was no policy.
The female coach?
Yes. And she wrote the letter into the district saying, I'm not on board with this either. She goes, when I go to look for the policy, it's not even there.
Okay,
And
let's talk about that then.
I don't know much about it.
Okay, well,
Sure.
tell me what you know
Okay,
regarding these unauthorized policies without the school board
okay.
approval.
Yeah.
So,
My colleague Stephanie Christensen also made a stand where she ended up writing the school board and her concern about how can policies be implemented when there's nothing in writing. There's been nothing for a teacher to stand by or to look at or to monitor. There was no information that was sent out to parents concerning their children. There was no talk of if a child has been abused in any way, being in the locker room with the opposite sex. None of this was discussed prior to allowing this female student into the boys' locker room.
now, weren't you told by was it the school attorney, that regarding you can't discriminate anything against race, you can't do the same thing regarding gender identity? Weren't you told that?
I was told in the meeting that the only person that had any rights was this particular student, and that no other students, had any rights, and their parents were not going to be contacted.
So the female student had all the rights, whereas the teachers and the other students did not have rights. That's
Yes.
what you were told.
Yes, that is correct. That only the female student had all the rights. No other student had any other rights, and the parents were not going to be contacted.
Okay, and where did that come from? Who told you that? Where did that come from?
That came from District Lawyer Thomas Neesham.
Okay, can you kind of put that back in a package? I was told by you don't even have to say the name if you don't want to, but the
District lawyer.
attorney that blah 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 like that.
Yeah, I was told by the district attorney that these parents were not going to be contacted, that the only student that had any rights was this particular student that entered the locker room, and none of the other students had any rights.
That's powerful right there. Okay. All right, anything else you can think of we haven't talked about, need to emphasize?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Feel like that's your whole story?
yeah, pretty much.
Into it?
Yeah. Yeah, my story has been, just a couple points in there, and just trying to use those points to be able to change a flawed policy or unwritten policy or whatever it is, But
Tell me again, what is your purpose in all this?
is to use the opportunities that I had of.
My purpose is to.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. My purpose is to use the points that were brought upon me is refusing to supervise a co-ed locker room and, just looking out for the parents and the students is to, I lost it again.
It's okay.
All right. Let's go back to that. What were you looking for on this? Just
What were you looking for? Your purpose.
Just to use those points. My purpose was to use the points, one, of not covering a co-ed locker room, and two is protecting our students and getting their parents informed as a way to fight this flawed policy.
Okay. Talk to me about the challenge. You've been teaching almost 25 years, you said. Where, and here's one blaring example of the differences probably when you first started teaching to where things are now. Kind of give me, in your perspective, how you've seen the change and where, because of these kind of things going on, where you see it going.
Okay. So we're looking maybe for the last 18 years since I've been a PE coach and keep it all consistent with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
in all these years you've been teaching, have you ever encountered anything like this?
Yeah.
So this is an eye-opener to see this is where we're going, and you see the county, the school district continuing on these kind of things.
Yes. Okay.
How does that concern you?
Yeah, over the past 18 years, I've seen a shift where we have tried to keep the boys separated from the girls. I know even for our classroom procedures as an instructor that we label it, no boys near the girls' locker room and no girls near the boys' locker room. And now all of a sudden we're looking to put them and mix them, female in the boys' locker room, and even worse, a male in the female locker room. I'm not sure where else it can go unless they just have one locker room and herd everybody in there.
And how does that concern you?
Concerns me because the safety of the students are at risk. Anytime you get male and female together, there's going to be some major problems, and no teacher's been trained for that.
Ooh, gives me weegies. That ought to open up some eyes. I don't think there's anything else I want to say. I think that covers it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. You're just like.
Yeah. But
You get so tense.
you know what? And it's probably because I don't do it often.
Sure.
And
You're used to shouting out, coaching.
there is
orders.
no doubt. But and you can move on those things. Sitting still, if I go and teach a skill, I can move, I can demonstrate. There's nothing to demonstrate right now. I'm just sitting here, and so it's out of my comfort zone. So we don't really have, just sit down lecture types. We tie some kind of movement skill so they can hear it and see it at the same time.
I'll have some weights in there if you'd like to lift.
I know. I've seen those 8-pounders in there. I already seen that.
I know it doesn't seem like very much, but when you're doing that.
Yeah. No. Hey, something's better than nothing.
That's right.
That's
Been doing these upper arm. You heard of Beachbody? This guy's been doing lift and hit or whatever a couple of days. I was like, oh, I just found new muscle. And it's just 8 pounds. You think,
Yeah.
So, but it's just basically, God has put you in a place for such a time as this, and you're sharing. I don't think it's any mistake, obviously, that this happened to you, and that you are given the courage of Joshua to talk about it and share your story, and that's what people need, and that's the purpose for this, is to get this out more within the community. Hey, this is going on. You're not hearing about it in the media, but it's still going on, and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Because I believe I thought I heard in your county, maybe it was Tampa, that they enacted the preferred pronoun policy, and that's becoming one of the new things too. Is they're requiring teachers, if that girl says she's a boy, then you have to call him a he, her a he, or else you be disciplined.
I won't do that either.
Yeah, well, so that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Now that's another question. I was going to ask you. Okay, so this was last year.
Yes.
You were threatened to either lose your job or to be transferred, but obviously you're still teaching there. So what has happened? Has anybody come back to you, or has it just gone crickets, or?
Yeah, it's been quiet ever since the Liberty Council got involved. They pretty much saved my job. It's been quiet. I know after the girls started entering the locker room, we had our assistant principal and our principal that would usher in the class. So the accommodation for me was taken care of, and that was covered that way. But the policy hasn't went anywhere. It's still front and center.
Okay. Now let's talk about Liberty Council.
Yes.
Let's do a little commercial for a minute, but just talk about where Liberty Council, how we came on the scene, what we did, and the result.
Do you want me giving names like Richard, or
Just say Liberty Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could say Richard, Matt, the attorney, or you could just say Liberty Council, because it's a team effort. So,
Right.
I was in this situation. I contacted Liberty Council. I imagine you reached out.
I did.
And this is the support I got, that kind of thing.
Okay. When this situation first came about, I was looking for help, being a believer. I was looking for help, I don't know, what would you say? Assistance, but I'm looking for what?
Counsel.
Counsel from what? Christian Christian group,
Christian organization.
conservative
legal,
Christian.
or a Christian legal organization.
Okay,
Litigation.
Christian Legal Association, something like that. Christian
We're a
Legal.
Christian legal organization.
Okay. Okay, when this first came about, I was looking for help. Being a Christian myself, I was looking for a Christian organization that could at least give me some information on what to do with this situation. And since the Liberty Counsel has came in, they have provided information, but they went much further than that. They have provided the protection that I needed as being a teacher to speak up about situations that are happening in our county.
Okay, let's say that again.
Okay.
Just say that again.
Okay.
And it's Liberty Counsel, it's not the Liberty Counsel, it's Liberty Counsel.
Like I said, Liberty Counsel. All right.
And talk about what had happened maybe if you hadn't reached out to Liberty Counsel. Where
Okay.
would you be today? You know?
Yeah. When this situation first came about, I was looking for a Christian organization that could provide me with information. Contacting Liberty Counsel, they were very good at providing information concerning what I should do, but also providing protection for me to be able to stick to my beliefs and be able to have protecting my job from it. If it was not for the Liberty Counsel, I would not be teaching today.
Okay. How did you find out about Liberty Counsel?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't remember.
Was it the other teacher that reached out? Or
No, because I went first and then she followed afterwards.
Okay.
I contacted.
One of the pastors told you.
No, I contacted everybody. So I think I may have went website, but I went to the Christian Law Association because I believe that they are supported missionary of our church. And then I think I reached out. Once I saw them, I want to say it was via the internet.
Okay.
And but I contacted Christian radio stations. I
Wow.
focus on the family. I contacted a lot of people in the beginning, so I wasn't really sure. It came through a referral.
Well, good. So you don't believe that you would be teaching today if it hadn't been for the Liberty Counsel riding in on the white horse?
Yes, yeah, without the Liberty Counsel's protection. And I think I was just about out of there because the emails that said they wanted to send a clear message that they would not tolerate my behavior. Shortly after that, the Liberty Counsel drafted a letter, sent it to the district, and everything has been quiet since then.
Very good. All right. I think we're good, Jonathan.
Fantastic.
Yay!
All right.
Whatever you can do to make that thing look good, you're the man.
Masterpiece.
We got good stuff.
But,
Don't you worry. Yeah.
well, I thank you both.
Certainly.
What you guys do is great stuff.
What you have done is great.
Well, you let me know how I can help
You're
you
the
guys.
hero. We're just here to come along and serve.
No, we got that backwards. I am the servant. You know, I go to my church and I talk to a lot of people and they give me, I don't know how you stand up and deal with that. And I really don't feel it because I go back and I read the stories of like the Daniels and the Shadrachs, Meshachs. What am I doing? I feel embarrassed actually, so I hear it and I thank the people and I appreciate what they said, but I tell them I'm just a servant, so that's,
I think of Esther. I mean, what she put on the line
Yeah.
in order to save her people.
yeah,
And I think, we get the privilege of representing people like Kim Davis,
Mm-hmm.
who went to jail for standing up for faith. And I think people really look to that now because our culture, society is so me-oriented. We're not willing, even as the church. I mean, you see what's happening
I know.
because the church has gone silent, has gone dark.
it has.
We're not being the light that we're called to be. And so people, when you see something like that, like I just read, I don't know if you're familiar with the cop that killed the black man thinking that he was in her apartment. She was thinking that she walked into the wrong apartment and she thought it was a burglar.
Right.
Have you heard that story?
I did.
Yeah, and then the brother got on the stand. Have you seen that?
No.
It's been viral.
Yeah.
Well, the brother got on the stand at the hearing. She was sentenced to 10 years. He got on the stand and said, "I forgive you. And the best thing for
Oh,
you."
is that where he went and gave her a hug? Is that the one? Is that the one? Yeah.
The best thing for you is to receive Jesus Christ and blah blah. And he asked
Yes.
the judge, Can I give her a hug?" And they embraced for several minutes. And the judge gave her one of her own personal Bibles. The judge is a Christian.
Yeah.
Now, the atheist group is now filing a lawsuit against the judge.
Unbelievable.
And so I'm emailing and saying, "Can we file something to support her?" I mean, that's how rabid it's become that people are afraid
Yes.
to do. I mean, that was just an act, what you're called to do. Give her a Bible. This is going to change her life,
Yeah.
But then you got the little atheist rabbits coming after them,
No,
and
it's
so-
rampant. It's getting worse. But you know what? I blame the churches because there's not one big church. I think there's like 30-something churches in our area that were contacted. None of the big ones got involved. My mechanic used to go to a big church, and he said he went to his pastor. He says, "We need to get involved on this." Well, one of the elders came up to him, and they're on a main street, and he goes, "You see that out there?" And he goes, "What?" He goes, "You don't want people picketing your business? We don't want people picketing our church." And they refuse to get involved. So it's a shame, because more needs to be done.
And
And
it's happening on our watch.
yes, and if
That's the thing, we don't want any controversy. We don't want any, and it's like, I don't think Jesus ever said that. I think he was throwing tables around and, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But we're so snowflakey.
Well, I think that we're afraid to get attacked. I know when
Yeah.
when I had a friend that started putting stuff up on Facebook, and it was immediately attacked. And he got nervous. He thought they were actually going to come to his house, and he took down his whole Facebook page. And,
Well, that's the power of social media now, because we can do and say whatever we want. It's
Yeah.
like the two dogs growling each other on the fence, and the fence is opening. When they keep growling until the fence opens, and they stop.
Right.
So we have this fence to protect us. So we say whatever we want, and we attack people
Yeah.
because we don't have to face them.
yeah. But I've been blessed. I had one teacher say something, one student say something, and then
Negative, you mean?
yeah, and 2 publications come out, and even the publications, didn't hammer me, and I say anything I want. I post on my Facebook daily. It don't matter, and I've been blessed that way. I don't know why I get that and somebody else gets attacked, but
But you're a nice guy too,
but
and I
I-
don't see that you're out, either. So,
Yeah,
but it's
so-
a hedge of protection you put on every day.
yeah, so it's strange, but I know if we don't stand, we're gonna lose our liberties, and they're gonna be in the church, and that title, what is it, that 5, what is it?
Which one? 7?
No, I think it's a 5, something 5 that's going to get passed where churches would lose the ability to be able to monitor who they hire.
HR 5.
HR 5, that's it.
Yeah, we've
Yes.
been talking about that for months now.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they realize they can't pass the whole act, so they're taking little pieces of it and putting it in legislation. So you're seeing that. Title 7, which is of the Civil Rights Act, which is that the Supreme Court is going to be hearing next Wednesday. And it's going to be interesting to see, does the Supreme Court become an activist court or not? That's 3 employment cases, and they're all having to do with homosexuality, changing the Civil Rights Act, which was enacted to give women equal
Right.
rights, as well as race. They're wanting to change that word sex into sexual orientation and gender identity, and that opens up a huge can of worms.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a funeral, one of those funeral home, the man, and I believe they're Christian owners, but there's a dress policy, obviously. You're dealing with grieving people. So one of the employees calls from vacation and says, "I'm coming in dressed as a woman now." And the employer says, "No, you're not. We have a dress policy."
Right.
Plus, people grieving, you don't want some clown standing around who doesn't know what he is.
Right.
He was fired. And there's a couple other cases too, but that's going to be I mean, there's a lot of media watching that. What's going to happen next
Yeah.
week with that? This is where we're going. We're talking about sexual orientation and gender identity now.
Yeah. I know at the next board meeting, I really want to try to target the co-ed word, co-ed into the locker rooms, because I think that'll at least get some of the people's attention. I know they're going to fight back on it, but, you know.
Co-ed word?
I
What do you mean?
would like to use the co-ed word when they're, you know, I don't want to monitor a co-ed locker room where you have the boys and the girls in there, and they're going to say, no, she identifies as a boy, but she is still a girl. And, you know, I think they would have a tough time defending that because,
That's a good, She
Yeah.
still has gold parts, whether she thinks she's a boy or a cucumber. She's still a girl physically, you know?
yeah, I think November 5th is when me and my colleague are scheduled to speak at the school board. I know my church has said they were going to try to get quite a few people. My church has been awesome.
Good. Which church is that?
Grace Bible,
Grace Bible?
yeah, but they have been awesome. They have been doing the, what is it? The Black Robe Regiment. Do you know what that is? No? I guess
Pastors that supported the Revolutionary War through force.
you got it. You got it.
I hadn't heard of that.
And they said that churches need to stand up, and my pastor has been standing up. He's probably spoke just as much as, you know, most of the other pastors and everything.
I wonder if he's gone to any of the training camps, because we...
He went to the one at
Did he go to the one
Gaylord
in
Palms.
Orlando?
Yep.
Good.
He said that was very good.
We have, did he get the pastor's, the DVD and the handbook and all that?
I think that's what we watched.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing that on Sunday nights and everything, and we've been getting pretty good turnouts, about 40, 45 people.
That's the key, is the church being the light. And
Yeah.
when pastors are afraid, you know, then that's where you get your problems.
Yeah,
And then you see it in your community.
yeah.
You know,
I know
church standing up.
I think some of the bigger churches are overspent for some of the buildings and stuff, and they need that income coming in, which was probably one of the mistakes that they made early, and now they're running into a problem. Either compromise, keep the money rolling in, but they need to remember that the Lord provides, and
Right, and Jesus didn't command us to have big buildings
Yeah,
and
yeah.
meet in a building.
yeah,
You go out into the marketplace.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we get into problems because of that.
All righty.
Thank you both.